Hiyuki's huge liberation damage multipliers made Lene her best alternative sub-DPS teammate, with a perfect balance of Glacier Chafe damage buffs from Chisa during her debut in version 3.3, but Lucilla's addition to the character roster as Hiyuki's best-in-slot sub-DPS creates a somewhat weird team composition because Lucilla's buffs are heavily focused on Glacier Chafe damage rather than a balance of both damage types. Lucilla is also a very decent alternative for Choyen in Sigrika and Galbrina team compositions due to her ability to cast multiple echo skills and provide echo skill damage buffs. So in today's video, I'm gonna break down Lucilla's kit to make it very easy to understand how she works, best build, teams, rotations, and how much of a damage decrease you should expect in her non-best in slot Hiyuki, Sigrika, and Galbrina team compositions to help you decide if you should pull or not. Keep in mind that every footage used in this video was captured on the creator server, so some things may be subject to change upon official release. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
Illusions of the past. Step forward. I witness every edge. This is a run. Let there be snow. You've prepared for this, have you not? For all wishes spoken, this vessel I offer.
Lucilla's playstyle. Holding your basic attack button will let her perform 2 basic attacks, and after the second one, this wheel icon or camera icon will pop up on your screen. Understanding how this icon works is very important for Lucilla to outro quickly from the field. Holding your basic attack button after the basic attack stage 3 will fill the wheel with a yellow gauge and give you 1 full 40 stack right here. However, as soon as the wheel pops up on your screen and begin to fill up, you'll see that the gauge turns yellow for a short while before it turns blue and yellow again when it's full. If you let go of your basic attack button, right when you see the small yellow gauge, Lucilla will gain a full 40 stack just like you would do if she spends time fully filling the gauge. The color of the gauge might blend in with your surroundings in some parts of the maps and in some endgame content, making it difficult to see the colors sometimes, so just use these 2 points as your cue to let go of your button as soon as it passes one of these points on your screen. Keep in mind that messing up the timing will give you only half of 140 stack. Now let's apply that to her endgame rotations. Right after casting an intro skill, you'll gain 2 of her 40 stacks and her enhanced skill will be available, so hold the enhanced skill and the wheel icon or the camera icon will appear just like we discussed earlier. The same mechanics applies here, so as soon as it passes one of these points, let go of your skill button and she'll get the third 40 stack. With full 40 stacks, her liberation will become available just like Yuki. So just cast her liberation and hold your basic attack button until she consumes all of the 40 stacks to launch multiple slashing attacks and a final attack that is immune to damage and interruptions. But sadly, you cannot swap out of the final attack to reduce her field time. And that's pretty much how you play Lucilla. Lucilla can provide buffs based on which resonance mode you choose, which influences her team building. Glacial Chafe Resonance allows her to apply up to 25 Glacial Chafe per rotation for Hiyuki to do more damage. This resonance mode also applies an 8% glacial resistance shred, and her outro skill in this resonance mode will also amplify glacial chafe damage of the incoming character by 60%. In the Echo Skill Resonance mode, Lucilla gains 25% Echo Skill damage bonus to all teammates, 40% crit damage to all teammates, and 50% Echo Skill damage amplification to the incoming character. If the Echo Skill buffs look familiar, that's because it is, because Choyen provides the same kind of buffs, but Lucilla provides an extra 10% crit damage, and Choyen and Lucilla spends roughly the same amount of time on the field. But we'll see in the team building section of this video, if Choyan has been power creeped or not. And that brings us to team building. I tested all the previous best teams for Hiyuki, Sigrika, and Galbrena with Lucilla in End State Matrix multiple times and recorded the points for the best run that I had. Let's begin with the Hiyuki team compositions. Keep in mind that all the teams were compared to Chisa, Lucilla, and Hiyuki as a baseline. First place goes to Chisa, Lucilla, and Hiyuki with a damage loss of 0%, since that's our baseline. Second place goes to Chisa, Lene, and Hiyuki with a damage loss of 9.6%. To be honest, this team came up higher in the ranking because I did a little bit of quick swap between Chisa and Hiyuki to speed up the rotations, but the score is still valid to be used as an assessment for the benefit of the majority of the player base because it wasn't anything complicated like 5 or 6 EI rotations. Third place goes to S1 Monye, Lucilla, and Hiyuki with a damage loss of 11%. Fourth place goes to Shorekeeper, Lucilla, Hiyuki with a damage loss of 14.2%. Fifth place goes to S1 Monye, Lene, and Hiyuki with a damage loss of 14.8%. Sixth place goes to Shorekeeper, Lene, Hiyuki with a damage loss of 14.8% as well because it scored the same points as the previous team composition. For Sigrika teams, first place goes to S1 Monye, Lucilla, Sigrika with a damage loss of 0% because that's our baseline. Second place goes to S1 Monye, Choyan, Sigrika with a damage loss of 2.2%. Third place goes to Shorekeeper, Lucilla, Sigrika with a damage loss of 2.7%. Fourth place goes to Shorekeeper, Choyan, Sigrika with a damage loss of 6.3%. The results here clearly shows that if you already have Choyan for Sigrika, it's not recommended to pull for Lucilla, so only pull if you don't have Choyan on your account. For Galbrena teams, my matrix runs was very inconsistent due to the multiple enemies on this side, which is a huge disadvantage for Galbrena, and it's not easy to switch up bosses for Galbrena because of the error resistance from Fleur de Lis, which does not help Choyan, and Reactor Husk is also heavily resistant to fusion damage, which also doesn't help Galbrena, but I still calculated the damage loss solely based on Galbrena's personal damage, which is not something that I like to do because damage from teammates makes a huge difference in your overall damage output, so I highly advise that you take these results for Galbrena with a grain of salt. First place goes to S1 Monye, Lucilla, Galbrena with a damage loss of 0% because that's the team that every team was compared to as our baseline. Second place goes to S1 Monye, Choyan, Galbrena with a damage loss of 3.4%. Third place goes to Shorekeeper, Lucilla, Galbrena with a damage loss of 11.28%. Fourth place goes to Shorekeeper, Choyan, Galbrena with a damage loss of 13.1%. Now let's cover her build. For weapons, don't overthink which one to use from a damage perspective because at S0, her damage is very underwhelming. My best recommendations for alternatives, if you can't get her signature weapon, will be String Master and Cosmic Ripples. Losing the 24% attack buff from her signature weapon by using an alternative will result in a damage loss of about 10.4%, but don't let this 10.4% scare you because I tested it with Hiyuki, who had only one of her echoes with an attack percent substat. So if I get more attack percentage from my echoes, this 10.4% damage loss will be less due to diminishing returns for attack percentage buffs. Hence, the more cracked your DPS substats are, the less reliant they'll be on Lucilla's signature weapon. For her echoes, go for 5-piece Wishes of Quiet Snowfall because of the 25% glacial damage bonus from the second part of the Sonata effect. 4 cost will be crit rate or crit damage based on your weapon substat, so if it's crit rate, go for crit damage and vice versa. 3 cost will be double glacial damage bonus and 1 cost will be double attack percentage. Make sure to use the Elephant 3 cost Echo in your main slot for the 12% glacial damage bonus. If you're going for an Echo skill damage team comp, use the 3-piece Law of Harmony and any 2-piece set that grant glacial damage bonus like the Wishes of Quiet Snowfall. 4 cost will be crit rate or crit damage. 3 cost will be double glacial damage bonus and 1 cost will be double attack percentage just like before. Make sure to use Voidborn Construct as your main echo to buff Lucilla with glacial damage bonus. Substats priority will be crit rate, crit damage and basic attack damage bonus, but double crit should be fine since she doesn't do that much damage. She doesn't need energy regen either, so don't worry about that one. Talent priority should be Liberation, Forte Circuit and Skill. Rotations. I'll be covering the rotation for the best in slot team composition. Here are the builds that I'll be using on all teammates.
Let's add more memories to our album. I shall be the vessel of your wishes.
You start by using Chisa's skill and basic attack until she opens the scissors. Swap to Hiyuki and basic attack 2 times to generate 1 forte stack. Swap back to Chisa to complete her basic attacks and cast her liberation. Skill, and hold basic attack to complete her full chainsaw combo. Intro with Lucilla, hold her skill and let go as soon as it passes those points that I explained earlier as your Q. Echo skill and cast her liberation. Hold your basic attack button until she completes her full combo and intro with Hiyuki. Hold basic attack, liberation, skill and basic attack 3 times. Plunge, skill, basic attack 3 times again, plunge, dodge, basic attack 3 times to use EI, hold basic attack, and finally hold your liberation button to end the rotation. If you're rather playing her in Whimpering Waste, cast her skill 2 times right after using the liberation, basic attack 5 times, dodge, basic attack 3 times to use EI, hold basic attack, and finally hold your liberation button to end the rotation. Sequence explanations. S1 gets rid of the perfect timing that you have to do whenever you hold her skill to get the additional full forte stack after an intro skill. It's not a huge improvement to her gameplay because you'll get used to the timing as you play her for a while. Crit rate is increased by 20%, and this is a requirement for her other sequences because they turn her into a DPS unit. As usual, for S1, she gets anti-interruption while casting her skill and basic attack stage 3. You don't really need this since the camera mode always slows down your enemies or stagnates them when you're trying to gain forte stacks. S2 grants her a whopping 80% Glacier Chafe amplification for Hiyuki or any Glacier Chafe damage dealer, and 40% Echo Skill damage amplification for any Echo Skill damage dealer you decide to pair her with. If you want to significantly increase her buffing capabilities, this is the sequence that you should aim for. Don't bother with S3 because the single hit damage from her liberation is not her main source of doing damage. S4 makes all the slashes that she does in her ultimate form to pull in nearby smaller enemies. You don't really need this since Hiyuki's ground basic attacks do damage in a wide area of effect. Sugrika also has some good crowd control capabilities, so the crowd control from this sequence is better suited for Oli Galbrena. She also gains a 30% attack while using the continuous slashes and a 30% damage reduction when using basic attack stage 3. You don't really need this if you have a good healer on your team. S5 increases the damage multiplier of the slashing attack that happens before the final hit by 50%. It already has a 285% base damage multiplier, so it's a good boost in damage if you don't want to get S6 Lucilla, but at that point, you might as well cave and sell the house to get S6 Lucilla since you're really close. S6 is a significant boost in her personal damage because the final hit in her ultimate form receives a 600% increased damage multiplier, which is absolutely insane. That'll be all for my Lucilla character breakdown. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them down in the comment section and I'll reply to them as soon as I can. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to help support the channel. Our Discord link will be in the pinned comment if you're having any issues with the game or you just want a place to chill or hang out. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.